Welcome to Toddcast, your weekly leadership nudge. My name is Todd Long. Thank you for listening. Last Monday, I had a great opportunity to go for a motorcycle ride with my father. He actually rides a 900 Can-Am Riker. It has two wheels in the front, one in the back. My father's 85 years old. He can still ride a motorcycle, but for safety reasons and his well-being and my mental well-being, he started to ride this other vehicle. I ride the 1500 Valkyrie, which he owns and lets me ride that motorcycle. We took a ride through the backcountry of Missouri, weaved our way back around over to Love Coffee on 150 Highway, where my daughter Leah happened to be working. Got to see her. Got to spend some time just hanging outside, talking, having a great conversation. Then we rode back, and once we got back to my parents' house, I sat down and chatted with my mom for a little while. Just had a great morning. It was time well used in my life on that morning. I share that because I've been focusing on this series called Time to Lead. And week number 1, I looked at the meaning matrix and that framework. Go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already. Week number 2, I looked at the philosophy of time. What is the wisdom that we have in terms of how we think about time? This week, I want to focus on time well invested. It's critical that we consider the time that we use and what we're investing our time in and the outcomes we get as we lead ourselves well to have a healthy and thriving life, which then will overflow into people around us. Let's make this happen. Welcome to the Toddcast, your weekly leadership nudge. Welcome to the Toddcast, great ideas you'll love. About 20 years ago, I created and delivered one of my first long-term leadership development programs. It was a 6-month program where participants came once a month. They had assignments between sessions, and they learned about foundational concepts of leadership to apply to their lives. One of the gentlemen in my program, his name was Bill Youngins. He worked for Geiger Ready Mix. And Bill's mission in life at that point was to help people have a balanced life. See, Bill had spent many of his years working and spending time investing in his work and his career, and he neglected some other parts of his life. And he didn't want to see other people have that same thing happen to himself. His mantra was, you need to live a well-balanced life. And he brought that to the table almost every single session that we had, and he meant it and he believed in it. I share that story because it's critical that we stop and we think about time. Now, there's been a comparison between time and money, and we can think about money as spending money or investing money. We can spend money by buying things that we consume. I'd love to have some barbecue or some ice cream, so I spend money on that and I consume the products that I buy with that money. Then we can also think about money as investing our money. We put our money into something in hopes that we get a better return later on. We could put our money into an IRA, a CD. We could put our money into home improvements by putting a new roof on our house because we hope to get a longer term value out of what we put our money into. So we expect a return. We could think about that same concept as we think about time. Are we spending time or are we investing time? If we're spending time, we might be spending time playing a game on our phone. Or we might be spending time scrolling on social media or watching short videos or shopping online. We might be just spending time and using time. We might spend time worrying. That's another way we could spend time. There's not really investment in that. There's nothing really great outcomes. But we can spend our time in those ways. I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong in spending time by being on our phone and playing a game, but we don't really get a lot of outcome from it. There isn't a long-term return when we use our time in that way. Or we can think about time as an investment. We're going to pour our time into something so that we get a return on the other end of it. Think about work. If you invest your time meeting monthly with the person who reports to you, to understand who they are, help them do their jobs really well, and help them think about their future growth, that is time invested in a human being. Or we think about time invested in spending with a friend once a month having coffee, where you sit down and discuss life, encourage one another, maybe challenge each other, support each other in some particular way. Or think about investing time in a family vacation. You're investing in creating time together and lasting memories. Or we could think about investing time in our own health, where we work out by stretching and strength building or working out our cardiovascular system. Those are investments of time that have a return at the other end of it. So what do you want to invest your time in? That's the big question here. And then also, what is the return on that investment? Let me give you some categories to consider and some possible returns on those categories. Work. For many of us, we still have to work. We have to put our time and energy into that work. And there's an outcome of that. There's a return on that, hopefully. There's a return of income. There's a possible return of an impact on the world around us or clients that we serve or customers that we serve. I think there's a return on investment with work. When we put ourselves into that work with the relationships, we get positive relationships out of it. Speaking of relationships is another category that we can invest in. And the return on those relationships, whether it's our spouse, our children, family members, friends, the return on that is a sense of belonging, love, support that we get from that. Health is another category. If we invest in our own health, the outcome, return on that is energy, longevity, focus, a sense of peace probably, or well-being in our bodies. Fourth category is learning. Invest in ourselves in terms of growing knowledge and understanding and skills. Again, the return on that is opportunities, growth, there's a sense of satisfaction. Here's another category, rest. It's a pretty important category to consider. What's the return on that? Recovery, focus, mental and emotional well-being. Here's the last category I'll give you. I'm sure there's some other categories you can think of, is serving others. If you invest our time in serving in the community where there's a need, there's an outcome for that or a return on that. It's helping our community. It's helping people that are maybe struggling. It's making our society and our community better. Those are some categories to consider as you think about how you're investing your time. Recently, I heard a story about a kid who bought a jersey in a thrift shop for $3. It had Wilt Chamberlain's name on it, who is a famous basketball player. Come to find out, that was an original Wilt Chamberlain jersey, and it's estimated that the value of that jersey is around $90,000. We hear these stories about the kind of the lottery win or the lucky things we buy that are worth a ton of money, and I don't think you can win at the time lottery. You can't put a tiny amount of time and get a big result. Last week I shared with you one of my philosophies was consistency over time has impact. And I believe that. If you want to grow in your skills at work, you have to put time into that. If you want to build your relationships, whether it's your spouse, your friends, your kids, you have to invest time into that. If you want to have an impact on the world and make it better, you have to invest time in that. Consistency over time has an impact. Here's the try it out section. I'm going to give you 2 exercises. One is an individual exercise. The second one is a team exercise. The individual exercise is simply to sit down and take 30 minutes. Make a list of what's important to you. Make that list and then consider that list and how you want to invest your time and what's the return on the investment. What's the return on the investment for others, the community, and yourself? Here's your team exercise. Very similar, except you do it as a team. Bring your team together and ask this simple question. What's important to you in terms of investing your time and energy? Give people 3 to 5 minutes to think about that, write it down, then ask them, what's the return on the investment? After they've done that thinking, then have each person share one item on their list and what's the return on investment if they use their time in that particular way. And then really listen to one another and have a conversation and hear what's important to each other. I think it's a great way to connect with one another and to find out what's important in one's life. Here's the quote of the week. This quote comes directly from Bill Youngins. At the end of that leadership program, Bill presented me with a class gift that he initiated. And it's a scale. And on that scale is this quote. Balancing your life is a choice. Balancing your life is a choice. Thank you, Bill, for that quote. Thank you for that gift, which sits on my shelf right behind my desk. Every single day I think about that and how I use my time and invest my time really well. Thank you again for listening to the Toddcast, your weekly leadership nudge. Next week, we're going to continue on this series of Time to Lead. And I want to focus on taking those big categories that you've identified that are most important to your life and putting those into a structured framework so that you can live those out in a healthy, productive, and thriving way. So come back for that episode. Hey, give someone a fist bump today. Smile at them. Tell them how much you care for them. I pray that you'd have the wisdom to know what's most important in life and invest your time in that. Here's the bonus section. If you're listening, I've got a music quiz for you. It's all based on time. I have 6 questions for you, and then I'll give you the answers. These are songs, popular songs that have the word time in them, and you're going to fill in the blank. Number 1, Bob Dylan wrote this song in 1964. The title is The Times They Are and then fill in the blank. Times They Are Question number 2, the Rolling Stones wrote this song. Time is on my, fill in the blank. Time is on my. Question number 3, Jim Croce, 1973, sang this song. Time in a, fill in the blank. Question number 4, REO Speedwagon, 1978. Time for me to, fill in the blank. Question number 5, Cyndi Lauper, 1983. You'll know this one. Time After, there's the title, fill in the blank. Time After. And then finally, we have John Legend in 2006, wrote this song and performed it. Time, what's the next word there? Time, fill in the blank. Here's your answers. Question number 1, Bob Dylan, The Times They Are A-Changin'. Question number 2, Time Is On Your Side by the Rolling Stones. Question number 3, Jim Croce, Time in a Bottle. Question number 4, REO Speedwagon, It's Time for Me to Fly. Question number 5, Time After Time, Cyndi Lauper. That one's going to get stuck in your head now. And then finally, John Legend, Time, Love. What a great word to end this podcast with. Love. Love what you're doing and love the time you invest in it. Have a great day. Bye.